Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm your host, Alex Gizis from Speedify. With me is Kevin Cunningham, the lead developer of Speedify, and this is Office Hours. What's Office Hours? I'll tell you. It's where you guys ask questions in the comments underneath this live video, and we answer them. So before we go further, give us a follow, smash that like button. We'd love to hear from you guys. So whatever you put in the comments, Jack's Aviation already hit us with one. Question about turning off encryption in Speedify. I'm guessing this does not mean there's no encryption when using sites and services using SSL. What does Speedify encryption do?
So any of your applications that are independently encrypting their traffic, like your browser or whatever, that still stays encrypted going over the Speedify tunnel. But Speedify has the option, which by default we do, we encrypt traffic between your client device and the Speedify server. So things like your ISP won't see the types of traffic they're seeing. They're just going to see encrypted traffic going to the Speedify server. So it kind of hides some of what you're doing. Even if the traffic's encrypted, your ISP could still see ports and IPs that you're talking to and things like that.
They can see what sites you're talking to normally, right? They can't see what you're saying to them. And so Speedify wraps another layer so they can't even see that, right?
Yeah, and so in most cases, there's negligible performance impact by having encryption on, so we have that on by default. A lot of modern devices have hardware encryption in the processor. It's not a big deal. There's certain devices, like older Raspberry Pis, where we have to resort to using software encryption because they don't have support. And so you could, if you're doing really high speeds, there could be a benefit on some older devices turning off the encryption if you don't really care about that and care more about the performance. But in most cases, just leave it on.
All right, so we have a question today. Have any of you actually used Starlink's direct to cell? Or, I'll throw another the Apple, the stuff where you can text by satellite if you're outside of the range of cellular. Has anyone used these? They're both, the Apple one is really out, but you have to find your way to a place where you really cannot get a cellular signal but can see the sky. And I think that the Starlink one is still rolling out. It was used in areas that were hit by hurricanes. And now T-Mobile's signing up beta users. Like here, have you managed to route phone calls or text through satellites? Speaking of which, we have a video coming out about this at 10:45 today, meaning the end of the stream. It'll be on our YouTube. Just check it out. It's a Between Two Palms, where we talk about Starlink direct to cell and the Apple satellite service. It's an interesting, crazy thing, right? Because T-Mobile has a contract with Starlink that if you can't get to one of their satellites, they'll try to put you to one of their towers. They'll try to send you to a Starlink satellite. And if you can't get to cellular at all, Apple will try to send you to their satellite. So if you're on T-Mobile in the very near future, you'll have this situation where your phone tries to use T-Mobile's. And if that doesn't work, it'll try to use the Starlink satellites. And if that doesn't work, it'll try to use Apple's satellites. So, one phone, multiple satellite networks, that's coming like now-ish. So exciting times. Yes, John's saying that he'd have to plan a trip to the mountains in order to find himself in such a place. Yes. Bottom of the Grand Canyon. Like I've said before, I hiked the Grand Canyon twice. For me, it is a great feeling when you reach the bottom and your cell phone doesn't work at all. And you are finally free of the internet. That said, I've never fallen off a cliff in the Grand Canyon and found myself lying there with a broken leg. And I think I would instantly, completely change my mind on this. But Alan says, I have a 15 Pro Max, but I don't know how to do that yet. Supposedly, if you can get to a place where you cannot get to cellular, but you can see the sky, your phone will go into some weird mode where you can send emergency text through the satellites. I've seen videos on the internet. I've never seen it myself. Have not been to the Grand Canyon for a couple of years. I don't know where else to lose old cellular and yet still be able to see the sky, right? You can go in a tunnel easily enough, but that doesn't help because now you can't use a satellite.
There are some rural areas. I mean, I think they're getting better and better coverage, but there definitely are rural areas where if you really go out in the country where there's not good cell service.
But yeah, theoretically, but I don't do that.
Yeah.
Got another video up. This one's already up. So again, go to our YouTube. Seems like a lot of you are on YouTube. Some of you are on Twitch. That's cool. Speedify on YouTube. We have another video up about the SpaceX spy satellites, Starshield. Really cool stuff. So, they have their 3,000 satellites doing the internet service. Well, now they're launching another constellation of satellites for the US military. And a lot of cool technology in there and a lot of serious risks. As you start militarizing this stuff, start being questions of, will people start shooting things down? And will we get, what's it called? The Kessler effect? When you blow up enough satellites that the pieces blow up all the other satellites, like the movie Gravity. Have you seen Gravity?
We had this discussion last time.
I
haven't watched it.
And you've had weeks. You've had weeks. You've got to see Gravity, guys. If you haven't seen Gravity, go see it. Sandra Bullock, George Clooney, they're astronauts, and all the satellites start crashing into each other, and it is a fantastic, mostly very realistic movie. So you should check it out. All right. Question. What is Speedify? Seems like we have a small audience, so maybe take a step back for a minute.
Yeah. So Speedify is an app that allows you to take advantage of multiple internet connections. It's available on lots of different platforms: Android, iOS, Windows, Linux, Mac, and now even routers, OpenWRT, more recently. And so, yeah, you can take it
in the comments. Does the VPN hide torrent traffic? Currently using AirVPN, but maybe I do not need both.
So yes, it can on select servers. So mainly we have specific servers, mostly in the Netherlands, where you can do torrent traffic. We don't allow torrent traffic on most of our other servers and other locations, but there's some select locations you can do torrent traffic with Speedify.
Yeah, so definitely connect to Amsterdam, and we'll do great routing all your traffic through there. All right. All right, here we go. All right, we're using pair and share. All right. All right, so everything seems fine now. I think Comcast went out. Turns out our two internet connections here were both Comcast. So I think Comcast glitched on us. I just added my AT&T cellular. So here you can see Speedify, right? So we have Ethernet and Wi-Fi, but it turns out they're both going for the same Comcast cable modem. So now we also have the AT&T cellular. So I think this will probably cover for glitches. Oh, look at that. Oh, Comcast failed us terribly. Yeah, oof. 10% packet loss, 16% packet loss. Oh, Comcast. All right.
That's the keyboard there.
All right. Yeah, settle for me. Audio's going in and out. Is that because my microphone is turned upside down? I'll do like Kevin. No, when I put it like that, people end up saying it's bumping my neck, and they hear thumps, but it doesn't seem to be doing that. Is audio better now, business starters? All right. What else? So what's coming in the next version of Speedify, Kevin?
Trying to think.
Well, that wasn't meant to be a trick question.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I know we have some different things in progress, but I'm not sure exactly which things are going in the next release. I know we've been working on a new.
What things are coming in the next 2 releases?
Yeah, so yeah, I know we're working on a new improved Mac version, making some updates to our Mac version. Previously the one that you could download, directly from the site. It was kind of an older style version using some older APIs on Mac and things. We're doing kind of a big upgrade to that to make
the
it
Mac
more
version outside the App Store when you download it from our site will be almost basically started over. Yeah. Probably won't look that different, but it will be different.
So we're making a lot of improvements there. We're always working on different performance improvements and stream improvements. Working on some improvements on better handling live view streaming through Speedify, and I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's any other things worth sharing. Always little improvements in the background.
Like the new Mac version outside the App Store is going to have the Speedify CLI.
Right. Yeah.
So all those commands for bypassing and stuff that we've been telling Windows users about, Mac users will finally have as well. So that's awesome. A lot of little security things too. Not that there's any giant security problem, but like we're gonna have some third parties certify us. So we'll tell you more about that in the near future. Got security consultants crawling through our stuff trying to break us. And while they didn't, they had feedback. We're taking the feedback. So, we can get stamps of approval from other people about how secure we are. And can't announce anything until I can announce something. The season of savings sale, basically the Black Friday sale. We didn't end it yet. People are still buying. Hop over to speedify.com if you haven't bought yet, or hop over to myspeedify.com. If you did buy, if you upgrade, if you bought before without the coupon and you're like, man, I wish I got the coupon. If you upgrade to a better product, you can still get those savings. So if you bought a 1-year plan, you want to shift to a 3-year plan, you can get the 40% savings and it could cost you virtually nothing. You can switch to a family plan and get 5 more people for virtually nothing. So check that out, myspeedify.com if you've already purchased. If not, just speedify.com, click the store. Are you planning to include more countries and locations? Yeah, the list is always shifting. List is always growing. Almost always growing. Occasionally we get tossed out of a country. What country in particular are you interested in? I mean, a lot of countries, there are reasons we can't host there. But
I mean, we're dependent on where we can get servers hosted that have decent enough performance that it's worth for us running a server there. So either some locations it's ridiculously expensive, or there's no good hosting options, or we can get a server there, but it's ridiculously slow and it's not worth being a VPN server to feed all our users through.
There have been countries where the fastest server we've been able to get had 30 megabits of bandwidth in and out of the country. That's just not going to work for anybody.
But yeah, if you have particular locations, let us know, and we can look around. We're always looking around for different new options for servers and locations.
Little bursts of latency and loss. Actually, now on the AT&T.
But yeah, I think things
seem okay. You sure? Who else is hearing audio problems? So next time we're live here, Same time next Wednesday, 10 a.m. Here we go. Slovakia, the Czech Republic, Abu Dhabi, Paraguay. It's a lot of places, Martin, but we will check them out.
Yeah, without me knowing anything, some of them seem potentially reasonable, but our server team will have to look into it.
That's my guess, is that some of these are reasonable and some of them are probably not.
Yeah.
But we'll find out. Yeah. A lot of effort these days into improving our reputation, into getting around. It's become a real problem, right? That all these AI sites are doing so much scraping of the web that sites are trying to block them and are accidentally blocking us. It really stinks because we're not the target. It's these AI sites. A lot of them are just going bonkers, just pulling page after page after page, driving up people's hosting costs and slowing down their servers. And so people are putting all these firewall rules to try to block them. And it's really tough. All right. Hello from America. Hello. Our friend Mr. Urban World. All right. Business Starter says, for my ISP, I have 2 connections, a fiber and a mobile router one. But same service mobile on is for backup. Can Speedify work for it?
I'm trying to understand. So you got the 2 connections. Yeah, I mean, if you had the 2 connections, but I'm trying to understand the caveat here. But same service mobile on is for backup.
So Speedify has this sense of priorities on each connection. So you see here, primary, and then my cellular is secondary. So on each connection, there's a priority. And Automatic lets Speedify do its best to figure out priorities for you. But in the end, priority is about cost. It's about how much you think it costs. So Speedify can't always get it right. So primary means use this connection all the time. If you think it will help performance, Speedify, just use it. Don't worry about it. Secondary means you can use this if you need a boost. So what happens is, sometimes called cheapest pipe first. Speedify tries to use the primary connections first and fill them up. And if they're not good enough, either because they're not working or because you're sending so much stuff they can't keep up, then we'll turn on the secondary connections and bond them in. But they're only used if the primary aren't completely solving your problem. The third level down, backup. Only uses backups if we need to keep you online. In other words, if the primary and secondaries are just a disaster, either broken or unusably slow. And then finally, never means tell Speedify never use this internet connection. Rarely what you want, but sometimes it is, because the connection is so unbelievably expensive that you only want to manually turn it on. Or most people using it are using it because they're messing around with virtual machines and they're running, fake routers and software that are pretending to be connections to the internet but aren't really. And so if you've set up some kind of ridiculously complicated network full of fake routers, which more people than you would expect have, you can say, no, that one's fake, Speedify, stop using it.
So yeah, I mean, I think Speedify should work for you. If you have your 2 different internet connections, you can get them connected to the same device, then you should be able to run Speedify and combine those. You have it fail over to your backup connection. Your mobile connection is the backup if your fiber isn't working. I think that's what you want to do.
All right. He's happy with that answer. Or she, I don't know. Mr. Emerald, that'll be good. Yeah, we're good. Speedify is great for cloud gaming. Good. Good. It should be. Yeah. Yeah, we're just grinding away here. So many little things improving. you know, around performance, satellites, performance with live view devices, performance on Macs, every one of the fixes is sort of so small it's almost not worth talking about because it only affects a few people. But they just keep coming, right? They just keep coming. There's so many of these that in the end it's like, yeah, it's time for you to upgrade. So, well, what else? What else haven't we said here, Kevin? So you guys should check out the videos. Oh, sorry, I ask you a question. I just keep talking. What else should we say here?
I don't know. If you have something else to say, I'm not. I don't have any other thoughts at the moment. Got another question, it looks like.
Is it worth putting Speedify on my Yolobox Pro or use the internal one from Yolobox, or is it the same stuff? It is not the same stuff. The Yolobox Pro includes the Chinese 10-cent internet bonding system. I've never used it. I've had a number of people call us saying, "Uh-oh, the 10-cent internet thing is about to get banned in the U.S. And can't use it with government and all this stuff because it's Chinese are running the servers." I don't know a whole lot about it. I do know Yolobox is Android. There are people who absolutely choose to use Speedify instead of the Chinese bonding system that's on there. I think we work much better, but honestly, I've never tried it. So it is not the same stuff. I think you can use it. Give it a try. I'd be interested even if you just email it to us, support@speedify.com, and in some sort of review. Do you think it's better than the Yolobox? Yeah. It's the Yolobox system is the Chinese 10-cent bonding system. So yeah, on our YouTube channel, couple new videos. These between two palms, where we do our little talk show. One about the Starlink direct to cell, another one about the SpaceX spy satellites. Interesting stuff. We've been talking a lot about satellites these days because it seems to be where the most interesting things are happening in the tech world these days. All the software is a lot of the same stuff, but the satellite stuff with the SpaceX and the Star Shield, and now Amazon is putting up their own constellation, and Apple is funding the global star constellation. They put another $1 billion in. It's cool stuff. Also, we've been putting in a lot of work to make Speedify work better on these satellite networks. A lot of improvements for Starlink, and there are more coming. A lot of improvements recently for the Ka band, the some of these satellite links where the latency is 700 milliseconds, 1,000 milliseconds. We made a lot of improvements there. So if you're doing anything with satellites and you're not running the latest version, time to update. And probably in a few weeks it'll be time to update again because we keep making improvements and new satellite systems show up and we test them and then we improve on them. And fun stuff.
Getting a lot of loss again on Comcast. Now we switched over to using your phone.
Now we're on cellular. The Comcast just blew up on us. Hopefully you guys still see and hear us. Let's show it. Speedify in action. Look at that. Something went terribly wrong.
The loss graph there.
Look at that. Comcast. Oh my God. Tossing in some cases a quarter of our packets. That's terrible. Good rule of thumb. At about 10% packet loss, the internet stops working. I mean, you can get a little bit out, but everything is just broken when you hit 10%. And right now, our Comcast is into the 20s. So if you are successfully watching us, you are watching us over AT&T now. Yeah, Comcast doesn't like us today. It is right. It's definitely right that we don't like Comcast today. It's really failing us. I wonder what's going on.
I don't know.
Could it be someone in this office doing something crazy? Torrenting?
It could be.
I would think we were smarter than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's failing over both the Ethernet and the Wi-Fi, so it's not like just the Wi-Fi signal's bad. So yeah, it's got to be either somebody pounding on the internet connection, taking all the upload bandwidth or something, or...
Oops. We already addressed that question. All right. All good here. All right. So Speedify saved the day, right? Once Speedify has 2 different internet connections, you can have terrible things happen, and terrible things do happen. And we just switched over. Just subscribe for 1 year for a live stream. Hope it will work. Yeah, should. Have you heard of 5G Standalone? Yes. I should do a video about this or something. You can, with 5G, now there are a bunch of bands up in the 3 gigahertz that you can use to run your own 5G network in your office. Now, in a 3,000 square foot office like this, that doesn't make any sense. But I think that when you start getting into the giant scales and robots, right? I mean, if Amazon is going to have enormous warehouses full of robots running around, it can start making sense for them to have, both Wi-Fi and 5G radios in their robots going to their own private network. I mean, in a lot of cases, I tend to think, can't you do all this stuff just with Wi-Fi, especially now that there's 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi? And probably you can, I think. But having multiple options, the option to run your own 5G network, kind of cool. But you have to be at this big scale where you have a campus, right? Where you have a campus, where you have buildings, I think, before it really starts making sense. Or really be in the middle of nowhere. I think if you're a ship, if you're a mine, right? I mean, it could make real sense. Although mines, you get into safety issues. You don't want anything that makes any extra sparks in your mine, and so maybe you should take the miners' cell phones away before they go in. But the point is, if you're doing something really weird with caves or ships or airplanes or workers in the bottom of the Grand Canyon, you can put up your own 5G now and get SIM cards that put you on your private network. And it can be pretty cool. It's on my iPhone, but my provider says I need a new SIM for it to work. But is it much different? Yeah, you need a different SIM to join. It's possible we're talking. 5G Standalone. Sorry. That was private 5G I was talking about, which is an interesting thing. So 5G Standalone, there's an NSA, not Standalone, and SA are the 2 modes. So, I'm sorry. So I answered the wrong question there. Now I get you. So most cellular providers, they really quickly launched 5G. They launched it in NSA mode, not standalone mode, which means they took a channel where they were running 4G and they ran 4G and 5G at the same time. And the cell phone tower is shifting depending on which phone it's talking to, saying, oh, I'm 5G and talking the new protocol. And then I'm talking 4G. And I have been hearing from people at the cellular providers that the performance is much worse than what you would get if you just took a channel and only ran 5G on it. And phones that can't do 5G can't join the channel. That would get much better performance. Around here, I'm only getting NSA mode, right? So, it means, slow 4G phones can kind of drag down the network even though you're on 5G, you're sharing the tower and the channel with those guys. So that's what standalone mode is about. So yeah, been talking to one of the major carriers, and the people there, every time I'll make a comment about performance on 5G, they'll say, but that's not real 5G. That's NSA mode. You have to try real 5G. And I say, okay, how do I try real 5G? And they say, oh, you can't yet. We don't have it, but it's coming. So I have it from engineers at phone providers that 5G standalone will be much, much better. Never seen it myself. So there. I believe that is the correct answer to your question, Access.
So yeah, it sounds reasonable. Yeah, they might require you to get a different SIM card for it, depending on how they've implemented things, I guess.
Speed Plus or redundant? Which one is the best for a live stream?
So it depends on your situation, but yeah, I guess let me talk about. So what redundant mode does is it will attempt to send all your traffic on both connections, or multiple connections. If you have more than two, at least two connections. So if all you're doing is the live stream, and you know that your connections are both unreliable, and you want to force it into that mode, you can do that. What the Speed Plus mode does is it detects live streaming traffic and prioritizes that above other traffic, and then it intelligently, based on the performance of your connections, decides whether to send just that streaming traffic either with bonding or with redundancy. So if it starts seeing the connection, latency or loss start to look bad, it can switch over and send your streaming traffic redundantly across multiple connections, but other traffic will still just go normally over one connection, and it gets deprioritized behind your streaming traffic. So in most cases, I'd recommend the Speed Plus mode, particularly, especially if we detect your streams. But if you know that you're only really sending the streaming traffic and your connections are unreliable, you could force it so that it's always just sending redundantly. If you don't care about the extra usage on your connections, you can. Sometimes people just doing audio streams or whatever, and they want to make sure that it gets through. They don't care about the extra usage. They just want to force it to go across multiple connections and make sure that it's always sent redundantly. Some people do that.
So if you don't know what to do, speed mode with enhanced streaming. And if there's reason to think, and because that'll even, if we think that redundant mode will do better, we'll switch you there. But if you really know it's terrible, as he said, you go ahead and try redundant, but all right. I'm in the UK, 5G and 4G is terrible here. So then it is definitely worth trying to get that new SIM and see if you can get the real 5G. If they're telling you that real 5G is available now, you should try it. There's a funny thing about these things, right? Which is that if you're one of the first people to jump on there, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be so awesome, everyone's going to tell their friends. And then everyone's going to leave the 4G and go to the new 5G bands, and then it'll get worse again. And it could end out reaching a point that you're better off going back to the old ones. But
to be honest, a lot of the time I just leave my phone on 4G. I don't even use 5G because the times I've used it, it's not necessarily any better. And apparently they say the battery drain is worse and things like that. But
again, you're in not standalone mode here, right?
Of course,
we don't have the dedicated. So it might actually be much better. Who knows? Aperture VDO production. It depends on your internet use and Speed Plus and my streaming. Because networks together have enough to live stream, but redundant not enough. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, definitely. If you're dependent on that, you need the combined speed of the connections in order to get your stream through. Then you want to do the speed mode, where if you're mirroring across multiple connections, you're not adding up the speeds of the connections. You're just sending the same packets on both of them. And we try and balance the packets so that you still get the speed of your fastest connection, and whatever ones we can send on the other connections will be redundant. But yeah, if you're dependent on it, if you have two slow connections and you really need the added up speed, then you definitely want to be in speed mode.
All right. McGoffin. I have the same question as Aperture, still confused. So no enhanced for streaming because it might switch redundant. Sorry. We suggest, if you're not sure what to do, if you're confused, speed mode with enhanced streaming. In that mode, if you're in the middle of a live stream and Speedify determines you have so much packet loss that it thinks you should have picked redundant, it will temporarily do redundant until things get better and then go back to speed. It'll be hidden from you. It should just kind of work better. On the desktop, I'll put this back up. On the dashboard, there's a section streams. And when you're live streaming with the enhanced streaming on, it should detect them and show them here. So these are the streams. Right now I've got YouTube and Twitch, right? YouTube Live and Twitch. And it correctly is recognizing these are super important live streams and prioritizing them above everything else. And you can see all these comments about it saving them from packet loss 12 times. Why is it spazzing like that? What's appearing and disappearing?
No, low memory for some reason.
Low memory.
Yeah,
welcome to the Mac. Yeah.
But anyway, to talk directly about your question a little bit more, we do have additional smarts in there that if we see that you're dependent on the speeds of both the connections for bonding, we'll make a decision sometimes where even if the connections start to look bad, it won't go to redundant if it thinks you really need the added up speed of the connections. If we think it'll go worse by switching to redundant, we won't do that. So there's some decision making in there about evaluating how much bandwidth you're using and the speeds of the connections and whether we think there's extra bandwidth to be able to switch over to redundant or not. So we try and be intelligent about that.
All right, Martin asks, is there a reason to consider omitting some of the connections when I use 3 or 4 connections? For example, if I know that it has 20% packet loss, it's very slow or plays priorities or set to backup. Yes. If you know a connection is terrible, you save us a lot of effort and set it to backup. It can make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times Speedify is going to be good, particularly if it's 20% packet loss. Speedify should detect that and filter it out, and you'll just kind of use it sparingly, but not depend on it, and to see if it recovers. But yeah, if you definitely know something's bad, you can give us a hint. Yeah, don't use this one right now. That's helpful.
All right. Alan says he gets those screens. Not sure what screens. Get those screens every time I use my Magic Jack. Oh, they show up as live streams. Yeah. Magic Jack is a voice over IP product. Yeah, if you're making a phone call, Speedify recognizes this is really important. Let's not mess up his phone call. And so it'll prioritize it. And if that means putting it ahead of other apps, Windows update runs. No, let's let the Magic Jack call through first. Also means, the secondary connection that you said not to use too much, Speedify will say, look, there's an important call. I'm going to use some more cellular. So at multiple levels, when Speedify recognizes that it's important, it prioritizes it. So that's all good. All right. We've been here 40 minutes. I think we're going to call this a stream. Thanks, guys. Hopefully you saw the power of Speedify and multiple internet connections here, because at the beginning we went live with only one internet connection and you got to see things be terrible. And then I added the iPhone using pair and share to contribute another cellular, and everything's been good since.
Even though the Comcast has been failing since then, Comcast continued to
there have been little bursts.
Yeah, right now it's good, but I mean we had a period where it was.
Look at the loss graph, right in here. You got a little.
So that's the cellular.
Oh, that's the cellular actually. You're right.
Yeah. But yeah, there was a period before where it was 20% packet loss on the Comcast, and we switched over completely to the cell.
Yes, right now, last couple of minutes, the Comcast has been great, as it is most of the time. But daft question: is there a way to get faster upload speeds from one connection? The download speeds are high, but my upload speeds are slow. So we're doing a couple things now to correct for terrible problems that can slow down, right? If you have packet loss, if you have terrible DNS, things like that. Speedify is doing a few things, but I assume that you asking this question indicates that you don't have one of the problems. That's all.
But yeah, I mean, if you're getting, I mean, yeah, we can do certain things to correct, but yeah, if you're getting the maximum upload speed of your connection and you need more than that, the only way to get more is to have an additional connection. And you can have a connection that's, if you mark it as secondary and your download speeds are fast, Speedify won't use your secondary connection in the download direction, but the upload speed's slow, it'll combine it in and bond it for the upload. So Speedify determines in each direction whether it needs to use a particular connection. So yeah, you could have it just add in and just improve your upload speeds, and your download speed's great from your primary connection. But yeah, you need, if you're using all the bandwidth available from your one connection, there's not much Speedify can do to get beyond that other than bonding in another connection. But if there's performance things that are slowing you down below what you can normally get out of your connection, sometimes Speedify can correct those things.
Aperture says, thanks for the stream. It's so good for user. Yeah, we're here for you, man. We want to make sure you guys are successful. So, that's why we do these, so you can ask. All right, I think we are calling it a day. Back to the grind. Working on the next version of Speedify. So thank you for joining us, Kevin. I really appreciate your insights. And thank you for all of you who watched. And I'll see you guys online. Bye-bye.